Welcome back to Jamano English Reading News with me, Banja, and our headlines from the Standard newspaper on the 10th of March 2023. The headlines are as follows. Police says over 70,000 stolen during mob attack on Buko station. UDP now disagree with timing of today's anti-corruption protest. Nomination for councilors opened Wednesday. PS Banja gets 2 years for bribery. And now we read the news in details. Police says over 70,000 stolen during mob justice attack on Buko police station by Isa Tamba on the station's officer at Buko police station. Deputy superintendent for the counter yesterday told the Kanifing Magistrate Court over 70,000 was stolen from the police station exhibit safe during the attack on the stationery by a mob demanding to deal with a murder suspect. The court, presided over by the principal magistrate Omar Jabang, is currently trying the 34-year youth over alleged took part in a riot demanding police hand over a suspect in the murder of local taxi driver in December last year. Counter narrated that on the December 1st, 2022, between 1300 to 1400 hours, he heard some big noise outside the police station and saw stones being thrown through his office window. So he said, to save my life, I quickly rose out of the office, picked my telephone and entered the station toilet, leaving my vehicle and office keys on the table. So Contra said he added that the entire police station was vandalized, including office baggages, gadgets, windows, televisions, sets and computers. He said at the time, at the point he called Commissioner Umar Dawo, the Regional Police Commissioner of KM, to send reinforcement from the PIU, adding that also called the LT Abdullah Mane, the commanding officer of neighboring Fajara barracks, to help protect the police station. The situation was tense, with the crowd calling for the police station to be burned down. Files were scattered and the exhibit store was also broken and the safe opened with the key and some exhibit monies, 50,000 and 23,000 kept separately in the safe were stolen, the witness said. S.O. Conta went to the state that the angry mobs were demanding for the suspect Mohammed Thomas to be handed over to be killed. He added that the time the suspect was transferred to Kairaba police station, the trial continued. A UDP now disagreed with the timing of today's anti-corruption bill, and today the UDP youth wing granted permission to protest for a bill. The opposition's UDP National Assembly member for Latrikunda Sabeji has expressed dissatisfaction over the timing of an anti-corruption protest planned by his party's youth wing today. The UDP youth wing secured a police permit to stage the protest that pressed government to take issues of corruption very seriously. But reacting to the planned protest, Honorable Yaya Sanyang said, I don't think many UDP National Assembly member should think the protest is staged to measure his or her competence and performance in this assembly. With regards to the introduction of the anti-corruption bill, personally, I don't entertain the protest for the fact that it will affect some gains we made in this pre-election process. The protests are important democratic features, but they should be well calculated by way of timing and manner, by putting into perspective all of its potential consequences. Some of us are putting so much effort, time, resources to achieve electoral success for the UDP in subsequent elections. Going forward, whatever message we intend to send to the Gambians as a political organization should be done by ways of house campaigns, he said. Honorable Sanyang urged all protesters going to the march to respect the condition of the permit and be very vigilant. I urge the civil society organizations in the Gambia to lead protests like this to make the government accountable. I also urge them to join the protest and not to see it as a UDP affair because corruption is affecting all of us, he said. Meanwhile, the UDP campaign manager Modu Sabali said the protest has the support of the party's central executive. It is a constitutional right for any Gambian to apply for a permit and hold a procession against happening in the country. I want to urge all Gambians to avoid misconceiving the idea behind the protest because it is a peaceful process. This is a good move for both government and the UDP. We advise all of those who are going to the protest to exercise restraints and avoid creating any tension, he said. He warns against any attempt to violate the condition of the protest. If anybody bends the rules, You should know what you are doing it at your own accord, and you will be accountable for it. We urge supporters to avoid making comments that will contravene the party's leader's statement. We are all Gambians, and safeguarding the country's interests should be everyone's business. Let us all respect the police and follow the rules of the processions, Sabali added. That was the NAM's UDP. NAM disagrees with the timing of today's anti-corruption protest. And now we move to the nomination for councillors opened Wednesday. The Independent Electoral Commission nomination for councillors opened on Wednesday. The Independent Electoral Commission has announced that the nomination for area councillors will start on Wednesday, March 14 at its regional offices across the country. Election House also said the nominations will close on March 27, while the election will take place on April 15. The mayors and chairperson elections is scheduled for May 28. The statements read, according to the nomination schedule for the councillors, each day is dedicated the two political parties or independent candidates, with the first group starting from 9 a.m. to 12 p.m., while the second group will file their nomination from 1 p.m. to 4 p.m. each day. On the 14th March, it will be turned off the ANRD and the APP, 15th March APRC, CA, 16th March DP and GANU, 17th March GAP, GDC, 18th March GFA, GMC, 19th March GPDP, NCP, 28th March NPP, NRP, 1st March NUP, PAP, and then the 22nd March PDOIS, PPP, on the 23rd March UDP, Independent, 24th to 25th March Independence, while March 26 and 27 will be used for correction of files and documents. That was the statement released by the Independent Electoral Commission of the Gambia. And our last headlines on the Standard newspaper, we have Banja received a statement. Banja received 2 years of bribery by the Gambia High Court for alleging being a victim of corruption and bribery in his office at the time of serving as the National Permanent Secretary at the Ministry of Fisheries. Dr. Banja, a former Minister of Fisheries, accused of bribing a company which was later seized by the Gambian Navy. The former Fisheries Minister, Permanent Secretary Dr. Banja, has been sentenced to 2 years mandatory jail term for accepting 100,000 bribe for a Chinese private company in September 2018 to free their vessels detained for engaging in illicit fishing. Banja, who served in the civil service for more than 4 decades, was found guilty on all 3 charges of economic crime, official corruption, and public officer receiving property so favor. The High Court, presided over by Judge B.A. Bakre fined Banja $1 million for causing economic loss to the Gambia government. In default to serve an additional 2 years in jail. On the charge of official corruption, Banja is fined $100,000. In default, he would spend 1 year in jail. He is further fined another $50,000 on the charge for public officer receiving bribery to source favor, and in case he defaults in paying that fine too, he will spend an extra 6 months in prison. His sentencing came following the judge's announcement that the prosecution has proved all the charges against Banja, even though he denied the allegation in his defense. Passing his sentence, Justice Bakre argued that Banja, who was tasked with a public responsibility, is required to uphold it with utmost integrity and loyalty. You were expected to act with patriotism, justice, lead by example, and uphold national interests over personal interests. You did not only betray the trust reposed in you, but also disappointed the people of the Gambia. Your act has not only eroded public trust in a government institution, but also hampered the economic of the country. Your act should not be condoned, and a signal to be sent to the public, particularly public office holders, to detain from such, to differ from such practices, and to act in public interest in all times. I was meant to be imposed the maximum penalty on you, but I take your plea of leniency, the judges said. He continued, corruption has eaten so deep in our fabrics that it has now become a cankerworm in society that condones the act if it is normal, while the person who frowns against it is one regarded as a misfit or betrayed. He added that it is Sir Banja, who is a doctor of science and PS of a government institution with many years in the civil service, which allowed himself to be used for such a demeaning act of receiving 100,000, out of which evidence shows he will be keeping only 50,000. For a meagre of 50,000, he has lost to signing career. For a meagre amount of 50,000, has dragged his doctorate degree into the mud of 50,000. He has brought disrepute for a name he built over years. The continent is looked upon as a dark continent based on the fact that we have totally thrown our dignity to the dogs, Justice Bagre said before passing the sentence. After the verdict was announced, the convict Banja could be heard telling the prosecutor outside the courtroom, "You and Dora Jallo must be very happy." Meanwhile, the Minister of Justice has issued a statement in the case, part of which reads, "We wish to make it clear that this office regards corruption practice with utmost seriousness, and as such, today's conviction serves as a strong and unequivocal warning to public servants who may consider engaged in similar activities." The Office of the Attorney General is currently prosecuting a number of other cases that are linked to corruption and financial malpractices, and we will not relent in our effort to stamp out the demands. That was the story by the Tana newspaper, that PS Banja get 2 years for bribery. And now we recap on our main stories. Police says over 70,000 stolen during mob attack on Bakau police station. UDP NAM disagreed with timing of today's anti-corruption protest. Nomination for councilors opened Wednesday. Dr. Banja gets 2 years for bribery. Thank you for joining us, and goodbye till on Monday at Banjul to celebrate the Commonwealth of Africa at Mohammedan Law Basic School. Thank you for joining us. I am your presenter, Adam Anjai at Jamano. Thank you.